Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Stan Show. I'm Stan Arthur, your host. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. You might be seeing a lot more of this in the days to come. Today we're going to deal with the ABC debate between Harris and Trump. And a lot of people talking about this, about how the moderators were clearly on the side of Harris and benefiting Harris and constantly fact-checking and putting Trump on the defensive. So let's just get right into this with the first clip, and we're going to discuss each one in between just a little bit. We'll get through this. All right, here we go.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
She never answered the question because she can't, because she knows what the answer is. You and I, and most people, especially in the middle class and lower class, we're not better off than we were 4 years ago. And she couldn't answer that. So that alone is enough reason to vote for Donald Trump because of what he did in his last 4 years as president. All right, let's move on.
My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Oh, this is a major fable. Trump does not have a 20% sales tax. Hey, let's just let Donald Trump explain it, how this was lie number one, a big one.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
There is no sales tax. He's talking about tariffs. He's talking about tariffs on other countries. It's going to create billions of dollars of U.S. wealth, just like it did last time he was president. In fact, those tariffs that he imposed, they're still in place. In the Biden administration, they never took them back. Why? Because it created billions of dollars in wealth for the United States. All right, let's move on.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Oh, is that a lie? That is a big fat lie. Donald Trump left unemployment in the best condition that we have seen in the United States ever, for women, for men, for people of color, for every group you can possibly think of. It was up, 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 up until the China virus. That's when things collapsed and we lost a lot of jobs and inflation started through no fault of Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much. So why don't you stop lying about it? Well, they don't know how because it's all they have.
We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in.
So boom, there it is. That's the name of that tune. It was COVID. All right. Then there's more on that.
The only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Yep, they know it, and so does everybody else. Educate yourself. You know that COVID hit. You know that everything shut down. You know that Donald Trump did his best to handle COVID during 2020. And with the information at hand, which was sketchy at best.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
Oh, no. This is a major fib. Donald Trump has repeatedly said he has nothing to do with Project 2025. It's a 900-something page document that was put together by the Heritage Foundation. There are a bunch of different authors, and it just outlines all of the conservative ideals that they want the country to get back to in order to restore some of the integrity, some of the values that this country used to thrive on.
As you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
That's right. He has nothing to do with Project 2025. So that was, on Kamala's part, a lie. Did the moderators call her on it? Not even one time. There was not one time during this entire debate that the moderators called out Kamala Harris because of her lies.
When you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
Did he do that during his first administration? Tax cuts for just the richest people? Nope. In fact, the tax cuts were for one and all. And we know this because those of us who pay taxes, we understand what happened there. Now, is there some reason why he would do that during his second term? Because what he did during his first term worked so well. No, this is just a lie. It's another Kamala lie that was not fact checked by the moderators. The moderators are for Kamala. They are not going to fact check anything she says, and that's the truth.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices.
Wait. Do you believe that Americans can afford, blah, blah, blah? This is a completely dishonest question. Listen to it again.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not-
No. See, that's not right. That's not right. Don't do that. See, that's what a liberal, progressive moderator will do in order to try to trip up Donald Trump. It's an unfair, untrue question. Now, let's get into his answer, his reply here a little bit.
Tariffs.
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, and it's been proven that he knows how to do that, and he will do that. Hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth, U.S. wealth, that we're not currently taking advantage of. You understand about the auto plants that China is building in Mexico and expecting just to sell these cars right out from under the U.S. auto industry to U.S. customers? Of course, there's going to be a 100% tariff on those cars because it's destructive to our own economy.
Under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military.
A damn lie. A damn lie. He didn't. Well, let's let Donald Trump explain what he did. He can do it better than anybody.
They bought their chips from Taiwan.
And that's the name of that tune. Donald Trump did not sell chips to China. They got their chips from Taiwan. So another damn lie.
They have abortion in the 9th month.
Oh, boy, here we go.
They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia. He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. Her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Yeah, there is no state. She's right about that. There is no state in which it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. And this includes what they call live birth abortions. However, Miss Know-It-All there missed the point. The point was that it's not currently legal, but what if the Harris administration introduced legislation to make it legal? And you think, oh, she'd never do that. You just wait and watch, because in her own words, her values have not changed. All right. And heck, let's just put a little exclamation point at the end of this one.
In over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans.
No, there are not. That's another damn lie. It's just a damn lie. There's no such thing as a Trump abortion ban. Now, do states have their own laws about abortion? Yes, they do. And that's why Roe v. Wade was taken out as law, because it was bad law. There is no constitutional provision for abortion. It has to go back to the states, and it did. It was 50 years of bad law. Let's move on.
Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
He never did, and he never will. He has never told a woman what to do with her body. He did what everybody in this nation, well, I won't say everybody, but a great majority of people wanted to do, and was to have the whole abortion issue put back on the states. Now, the states are going to do what the states are going to do, and we can't do anything about that, all right? Personally, I'm against abortion for a number of reasons. I'm a Christian man, and I believe that it's murder. To terminate a pregnancy is the murder of a baby. And they say, it's not a baby, it's a fetus. Well, why don't you look up in Latin what fetus means, okay? Surprise, all right? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to make you look it up. Number two, we have to sustain the human race. And at our declining birth rates all over the world right now, at the rates at which it's declining, we are in danger as a civilization. You get it? So I'm in favor of people making babies. And as someone who assisted in the making of 2 babies with my wife of 44 years, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I would encourage you to consider not being a childless person, because there is so much joy and satisfaction in raising children. Anyway, my 2 cents.
A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that.
Who does? Who does want that? Nobody, including Donald Trump. So why is she looking at him talking like, you want this? No, he doesn't want that. Nobody wants that. That's insane.
It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban. Every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. I'm not in favor of abortion ban. This issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to.
If I could just get a yes or no.
You have a vote of the people on abortion.
We have a vote by the people in each state about what they're going to do about abortion. And that's the way it should be. Now, if you're a liberal, progressive, and a Democrat, you might disagree with that. You might want to have no limits on abortion whatsoever. Well, you're going to find yourself in a minority there, because it's not happening and it's never going to happen. All right.
Couples are being denied IVF treatments.
No, they aren't.
It's another lie.
Couples are not being denied IVF treatment. It's a lie. Let's see what Donald Trump continued on with
It's
here.
another lie.
It's
I
another
have been
lie.
a leader on IVF,
Amen.
which is fertilization. They know that, and everybody else knows it.
Yep, they know it, and everybody else knows it. That Donald Trump has been a leader in IVF, in vitro fertilization. So that's just another damn lie. How many lies is that so far? 6, 7? I've lost count.
Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Would you do that?
They didn't ask her, but she kept shaking her head, going la 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 la. But remember, my values have not changed. Her values have not changed. And if you look back at what she said, even as late as 2019, her values, she says, have not changed since that point. So if you're pro-life, if you believe that babies deserve to be born and not murdered in the womb, then look out for Kamala Harris. She is not a good choice for you for president. Now let's talk about illegal immigrants and the border.
This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. Why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act?
The United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill. But
Well, let's stop. Why do you need a border security bill? Well, you don't. And we're going to find out later why you don't need a border security bill. By the way, that border security bill also allowed for 1,500 immigrants to cross over daily. And that is not satisfactory when we're talking about somewhere between 20 million and 27 million immigrants who have come across the border since 2020.
you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Yeah, that is a damn lie. All right? A damn lie. Now, Trump is going to get into a little bit later. Trump finished very strong in this debate, and I'm going to play a lot of those straight through because they're worth listening to. Trump, of course, he knows what it takes to close a border. He knows what it takes to build a wall. He knows that we need that in order to have national security. And when we think about the kinds of people who have been coming across the border, the criminals released from prisons, the people from insane asylums, the worst of the worst, who are being sent over here from countries like Venezuela, who historically have had very high crime rates, especially under their communist leadership, well, we know why their crime is now decreasing. And the leaders of that country have told these people, don't ever come back. If you do, we will kill you. Anyway, let's move on. I believe that we're still talking about the border issues.
Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border. How come she's not doing anything? I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C., and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, if they do that, the border is closed.
There doesn't need to be a special bill in Congress. There doesn't need to be any appropriations for this. If the president today signs an executive order to say, close the U.S. border, our southern border, close it, it will be closed. And they have known this all along. Did you know that? This is another damn lie. Well, we can't do it because, we're not allowed to. You're the president of the United States, Joe Biden. Kamala Harris, you're the border czar. And the vice president, you could have done this the day after being elected. You could have closed the border, or even wait until it starts getting bad a month or two later. You could close the border right then. They never did because they don't want to, because they know that what they're letting in is a bunch of new Democrat voters and trying to make it impossible by flooding the country with a population larger than the state of New York. They're going to somehow make it impossible for a Republican to ever get elected again. This is why we need Donald Trump. And one of the big reasons why we need Donald Trump in office is because he has vowed to deport all of these people. How is he going to do it? He'll figure it out, and you can bet he'll figure it out.
You said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Before she answers, I think it's very important to point out that Bernie Sanders revealed on the news the other day during an interview that her values have not changed. Why is she doing the whole reversal in her policies now? Well, Bernie Sanders laid it right out. He called it being pragmatic. That's just another term for she's lying and saying whatever she needs to say to get elected so that she can then prove that her values have not changed. And that's the truth. You can take that one to the bank.
My values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made.
Except that she did it. She didn't talk about any more points that the moderator asked about. She did talk about fracking, but all the other ones never got discussed, as she said she was going to. And she didn't push the subject because she doesn't want to talk about it.
But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking.
Hello, made it clear in 2020? I don't think you did. In fact, I think in 2020, before you were elected, you made the opposite clear, is that you wanted to ban fracking. So this is another damn lie on the part of Kamala Harris. Another lie.
I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act.
Whoa. Let's talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. Joe Biden himself last week exposed the Inflation Reduction Act as a lie. It was a Green New Deal Act, and he said so out loud in front of an audience. He said, we had to call it something else to get it passed, but it was a Green New Deal Act that had no effect in the inflation being reduced. Not at all. All right, let's move on. That's just another damn lie.
We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history.
No, you haven't. You have not had the largest increase in production in U.S. history. Donald Trump did during his 4 years. Another lie, an absolute lie. Moving on.
On that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically.
So again, they love this lie about January 6th. And, Trump has brought up some very good points about it, that he asked his people at the huge speech. And by the way, one of the most highly attended speeches ever in history. I mean, incredibly well-attended speech. There were tens of thousands of people there, and only a small fraction of those people marched over to the Capitol. And as we know, there were people inside the crowd, plants, FBI plants, who disrupted things and pushed for breaking down those barriers, breaking glass, getting into the Capitol through nefarious means. And some of these people just took the bait and they went along with it. But we're going to learn more right now about this. So keep
On that
talking.
day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured,
No.
and some
Lie.
died.
Nobody on the
nobody
other
died.
side was killed.
No.
Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer.
Yes.
That should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
It is an absolute disgrace that Ashley Babbitt died at the hands of a out-of-control police officer inside the Capitol. January 6th was unfortunate. The Summer of Love also happened, where thousands of people burned down cities. And not one of those people was ever arrested or convicted of what they did during that time. And yet the January 6th protesters were thrown in jail for month after month after month with no charges at all. That's American justice for you? Well, it is under Kamala Harris. Let's move on.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath. If this and the outcome of this
A bloodbath. There will be a bloodbath if we don't like the outcome of this election. Well, we know that's not what he said at
election
all.
is not to his liking.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was.
It was actually referring to the auto industry. He was talking about those plants that China is building in Mexico, and that if they were just allowed to go and sell those cars to the U.S., it would be a bloodbath for the American auto industry. And I wish that he had said that. He kind of mixed it up a little bit, but at this point, he's on his heels because he has had to defend himself through the entire debate. And it's tiring. It's very, very tiring when it's 3 against 1. Let's move on now, okay?
Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won.
This is another when did you stop beating your wife question. You falsely claimed that you had won. No, what had happened was we had a 3 a.m. vote dump, the hockey stick effect that I'm sure you all remember seeing, where it looked like something nefarious happened, where all of a sudden millions of votes were added to the Democrats. Now, what's that about? It was never explained. Not once was it ever explained. A lot of cases were brought and no courts would hear them. Well, why not? Well, what do you think? You think that one judge wants to be responsible for overturning an American election? And what would happen to that person? A lot of these people, they're judges, and they're very afraid of what could happen to them. It's no surprise at all that these cases were thrown out. And even since then, much evidence has been gathered, new evidence has been gathered, and things have even been proven. Evidence has been proven since then. Is it ever going to be reversed? Never. Of course not, because it's election time again. So all we can do is move on. But to tell Trump that he falsely claimed to have won when all he wants is an investigation into what happened, the 3 a.m. vote dump that was never explained. Perfectly legitimate. Oh, but no, he falsely claimed to have won. Talk about stacking the deck against Donald Trump. Unbelievable. Unbelievable hypocrisy going on here.
Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. There's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics. We have to have borders. and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
Yep, that's absolutely right. That is why they're allowing them to come into this country, and we've already covered that, so I'm not going to rehash it. And I'm surprised that the female moderator there didn't chirp in and say, there is no state in the union where illegal aliens are allowed to vote. Of course, she wouldn't use the term illegal aliens. She would have just said migrants or newcomers. Anyway, I wanted to play that entire clip of Trump because I thought it was so well done.
This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
How do you expect that question to be answered? He's setting up Kamala. He's setting her up for another, oh yeah, he lies, lies, lies. That's what he's setting her up for. And her response doesn't even bear repeating, so we're not going to do it.
Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
Doesn't this sound an awful lot like her explaining, like, Ukraine is a country, and yeah, it does. I just wanted to play that for the heck of it because, you know, that's so Kamala. That's so Kamala. All right, moving on. Here we go.
Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
Okay, that's nice. That's a nice story. But guess what she didn't do? She didn't say how she would resolve the situation. She didn't say how she would deal with Netanyahu, with the Arabs, with Iran, with the Hezbollah, with the Houthis. She never mentioned it. She didn't answer the question. However, the same question was asked of Donald Trump. And, of course, he answered because that's what he does. You ready? Here we go.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
What do you think of that? That's my man. And that is why I'm voting for Donald Trump. That is the main reason I'm voting for Donald Trump, is because I know that he will bring an end to war in the world. He will finish up the war in Ukraine. He will wrap things up in the Middle East. Now, there's always going to be a hotbed there, but at least we can stop the killing. And he will do it. He knows how to negotiate with these megamaniacal leaders in the world. He can deal with Putin. He can deal with Iran. He can do it. He can deal with Hezbollah. He will do it. And that is enough reason for me to vote for him. Let's move on.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
Okay, whoa. Wait a minute. Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel. Okay, so this is another fact check going on when zero fact checks have been made on Kamala and her lies. So it's just another setup for her to say, oh, I don't hate Israel. You know, I have no history of hating Israel. Well, we know who her friends are, all right? And we know that has bounced back on her in a bad way seeing all of the protests, the pro-Hamas protests that are going on at her rallies, at the DNC convention. Yeah, we know all about that. So let's move on. Let's move on.
You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. We're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III.
Do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
And that's a big reason I like Donald Trump, because he is anti-war. The Democrats used to be anti-war, but that's all changed now. The Democrats are run by their donors, their biggest contributors. They are calling the shots. And if you don't think so, you've got a rude awakening coming. Why do you think the country has been run the way it has been for the last 4 years? The party that used to be anti-war, anti-establishment, anti-capitalism is now all of the opposite. And you've got the neocons siding with the Democrats. And it's because of what Eisenhower warned about in his exit speech about the influence of the military-industrial complex. It absolutely is that, and we're seeing it happen right before our eyes. We're just about through here. Let's do a couple more, and we'll get out of here.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also, as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
How would you do it?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Okay, so
I believe
changing the subject again because you think that's going to win you some brownie points with your donors.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
What the hell does that mean? That Donald Trump would just give it up? What does that mean? Well, what she's inferring is that she would give it to Russia with a victory. Donald Trump has never said anything of the kind. He wants it to end. It's not going to end amicably, but it can end with the proper pressure applied. Russia can withdraw, and Ukraine could go back to burying their dead, their hundreds of thousands dead, almost an entire generation of young men wiped out in Ukraine because the Biden-Harris administration was so weak during the Afghanistan withdrawal that Putin was empowered to invade Ukraine. Don't believe it? Think again, because that's exactly what happened.
And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded.
They sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
And you know that's right. You know that's absolutely right. Because she doesn't know how to negotiate with these unbelievably megamaniacal dictators in their own countries. And we know that Trump can do this. Now, the old rumor is that he had threatened Putin, saying, if you invade Ukraine, I'm going to blow the onions off your turrets. It's an old story, but I like it. And I think that is what kept Putin from invading Ukraine, because he understood the strength and the resolve of Donald Trump. Strength and resolve does not describe Kamala Harris or Tim Walz, for that matter, at all. Her entire campaign has been run on feels, about feeling good, about joy. Has nothing to do with policies and strength when it comes to dealing with other countries.
Do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Okay, we're talking about Afghanistan. Do you believe that she and the Biden administration bear any responsibility for the complete debacle and the death of 13 military service people?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban.
The Taliban was killing our soldiers.
It's important to point out that Taliban were the ones doing the killing. So they are the ones that need to be negotiated with. Common sense, right? Donald Trump, the common sense president and the deal maker who makes it happen.
And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out.
Why did you send me a picture of my house? Well, because we know where your house is and we know how to take it out. That's exactly why he sent him a picture of his house.
And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind.
Yeah, can you believe that? They turned over $85 billion worth of brand new military equipment to the terrorists, to the Taliban. Absolutely did. Why would you do that? Why not, as President Trump had said, why not put a little gas in these things and fly them over to Pakistan or something, get everything out of here for this withdrawal and draw down slowly and evenly and make it work without any incidents? Oh, no, 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 no. The Harris-Biden administration said, pull them out now, just like pulling a plug. And what ensued? Complete chaos and death, not just for our 13 service people, but for a lot of Afghanis too.
And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. These people did the worst withdrawal, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
Yes, that's why they attacked Ukraine, is because they saw how incompetent the Biden-Harris administration was. Now, Kamala Harris, she was the vice president, not the president, but she also hid the fact that Biden was losing it through senility, through dementia, through whatever. She hid that fact, kept saying, oh no, he's strong, he's on top of it. And then as soon as that other debate happened, well, it all fell apart, didn't it? Well, that was just another lie. Well, that's it for today. We've gone through as much as I wanted to go through about this debate. The whole point of this was to prove what everybody already knows, of course, is that the moderators were in the tank for Kamala. They continued setting up Donald Trump with fake questions. They continued to fact check him, but they never fact-checked one of Kamala's blatant lies. And it was embarrassing for ABC. The country are the losers in this thing, and we can only hope that people are smart enough to figure out what's going on here. Anyway, I'll see you in the next episode of The Stan Show. I appreciate you hanging out with me this time. So until then, we'll see you next time.